Like, it is my fault. Holly didn't do her job. Holly is not worth anything. She's not a good mom. She's not good at taking care of a house. She doesn't even have that. She doesn't even have a job. She doesn't have that much to do. How is she failing at this? Like that, those are the things that I would tell myself constantly. Like, it's not that hard, Holly.
Hey, hey, hey. Thanks for tuning in to Raw Talks. Again, if you're joining me for the first time, my name is Raihana, like Rye Bread, and I'll be your host. I am so excited to announce my guest, and you probably already know her because she's here joining me for a part 2 session by popular demand. We've had Holly Bantique back on the show, and I'll give her introduction once again. For those if you're just hearing Holly for the first time, Holly is a wife, mom, corporate leader turned founder, a lover of yoga and quality time with her family, and she's also striving for a life of fulfillment and happiness. As a recovering perfectionist and an overthinker, Holly tries to enjoy her life while figuring out parenting and running her new business called Kaylee, Peppery, and Design. Holly, it's such a pleasure to have you back. I'm so looking forward to touching on the topics that we were planning for last time, but we had such a great discussion that we needed to have a part 2 because of that and because listeners loved you. So what are you looking forward to our show today?
I am just looking forward to getting to that part 2 and being able to talk about those little things. Because like I said, I can just talk. And so I'm really just happy to be here again. It kind of feels like home now. I'm less nervous this time. So I'm just excited to get back into those conversations and hopefully help whoever's listening.
Absolutely. And speaking of helpful resources, so listeners, for ones who have tuned into that part 1, and if you haven't, get back to that part 1 before you finish the rest of this part 2. Holly had talked to me last time about this energy cup and how she wanted to divvy up her energy across the important parts of her day, like her family, her work, her son, and self-care. I can't remember the 5th one for you, but I know you had 5 or 6 that you listed out, and you wanted to give like 15% to each one and give your best at each in each category as much as you could. And so I know that you've been working on a visual representation of that, and I would love to do a little share and tell for adults, since we're not kids doing show and tell, about that little activity. And I got something that I wanted to show you too that I think would be really exciting to just kind of not compare ideas, but share our ideas with each other and the audience, and hopefully it will also inspire others to create something of their own. What do you think?
Yes, I love it. I have my cup here, my energy cup.
Awesome.
So I will show you, but I know some people might not be listening, so might not be watching. So I'll also describe.
Awesome.
So here's
Thank
my
you.
little cup. It is a clear plastic cup, and it has my son's little pom-poms in it.
Oh, that is so cute.
They're like the little fuzzy pom-pom balls. I have all different colors in here.
Like the ones used for arts and crafts, like put like Elmer's glue on it and create little fun 3D designs. So
yep,
cool.
That's exactly what they are. And so this is me at 100% if I start out my day like that. That is what I want it to look like.
So you 100% for listeners who are not watching, meaning like the cup is completely full with the pom-poms, right?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
The cup is completely full with pom-poms. That's how I'm going to resemble 100%. Take some pom-poms out if I'm, starting my day feeling like 50%, make the cup look 50% full, and, any number in between.
Awesome. And how do you plan to utilize those pom-poms throughout the day? So you started your day, whether it's 100% or 50%, whatever you're feeling that morning. How are you going to use them throughout the day to kind of keep track of where you're spending your energy?
Yeah, I love that. So we are busy, right? I don't even know if I have 5 or 6 options because there's so many things I feel like I'm responsible for. So that's why me and you are like, is it 5? Is it 6? I don't know. So basically, my plan is I have like a little affirmation sheet that I try to get to in the morning and at night. And it's just a few phrases that I tell myself. And my goal is to keep my cup next to that sheet. So if I'm doing my affirmations, I'm looking at my cup. Start it off with whatever percentage I feel like that day. So if I feel, like I said, 100, 75, whatever I feel, pom-poms in there to fill it up to that amount, or what looks like that amount. And then kind of gauge it throughout the day in my head. And from there, at night, when I go back to my affirmation sheet, kind of divvy it up into those 6, like I want like 5 or 6 different cups and with little labels on it, and kind of divvy it up divvy it up to where I felt like my energy went throughout the day, because I don't want something that I have to do all the time and keep track of. So my goal is to make it easy, just quit, but still reflect on my day and see what I did. And then, talk to myself, hey, should I change something tomorrow? I gave 0% to my business. Maybe let me touch my business tomorrow a little more, or anything like that. Kind of just reallocate as feel needed.
You're like totally reading my mind right now, because before you just said that, I was about to say that's a great way to just kind of assess and recalibrate for the next time. So you can see where you want to like reset some of those energy balls. I really like that idea. And I know last time you're saying that the app would have been a great idea. Now that you have this, what are your thoughts on the digital representation versus this physical representation? What are you thinking you're going to get out of it, having this physical representation of your energy?
I think physical does something more to you than digital. I appreciate a lot of digital things, but I think like physically, I'm going to grab my cup again. I think physically having to like take one of these pom-poms, and I grab two, let's say I grab two, and like put them somewhere and see the actual representation like in my hands, I think that's a lot more impactful for me. I'm a physical person anyways. Like I like to be out in nature. I like to I'm like you said, I love yoga. Like I love like being in my body and like focusing on things that are in front of me. So yeah, I think the actual motion of moving these little pom-poms, these little balls into different containers is just going to make me either feel really proud, or it might make me think, oh, okay, tomorrow this section needs more love and attention. So I'm excited to actually I don't want to say force myself, because no one's forcing me to do anything, but like just allow myself to take the time to listen and see, what did I do today? What did I focus on today? Let me see what I can, what I can do tomorrow. Or, you know what? Let me just see what I did today. And that's it. Leave it at that. And don't put pressure on myself for tomorrow. So I'm just using it for what feels right in the moment, I think is important for me.
That sounds so cool. And thank you for sharing that, because I think sometimes we get so caught up and yeah, there's an app for that. Let me download another app. But that screen time, like just being on the phone to record whatever you're feeling or wherever your energy is at, I feel like that's also taking away from you. So then you have to take out more from your cup to actually record that, if that makes sense. And so I think, like you were saying, like that physical action and just all the sensory components of like touching it in your hand and actually moving it from one to the other has so much meaning and impact on you. And I'm just looking forward to hearing about that experience from you when you actually get to implement this and how that worked for you. And even long term, like what impact did it have on you as you like analyzed how you spent your time and your energy in that day over the course of months, and what have you changed and how did that work for you? I'm just so excited for all of those aspects as you incorporate this new tool in your life.
Yeah, I actually love the part that you said about like kind of through months, like looking at patterns, because day to day, your head is in whatever you're doing. Recognizing patterns can be really hard. That's why apps are great, right? Like they'll do it for you. They'll be like, why did you spend so much time on laundry? Like I have so much laundry, but yeah, like you said, like you can kind of start recognizing like, wow, my business cup is always empty, or my sun cup is always empty on Mondays for some reason or something. And you get these like,
that's good.
These like, little pieces of information about yourself. And yeah, maybe it's not in an app and easily trackable, but like you said, screen time, maybe I am like not a fan of screen time at all. I'm so happy you brought that up, because like it would be one more thing that I'm like, grab my phone, here we go, So absolutely physical all the way for me. No hate on screen time, but it's just not my friend.
Okay, wait a minute. I have my item that I want to share and tell. But you, on that note of screen time, I don't want to lose that thought. Tell me, what is your theory about screen time and why do you not like it so much? I'm curious.
I think I mentioned this last time. I am someone who, if I read something and it's research backed, that's it for me. Like it is fact. And I just read all this stuff about my son getting screen time before the age of 2. And even then it should be like less than X amount of time per day. And it really ingrained itself in my brain. And we do screen time now. I'm not like anti-screen time. And like I said, it's whatever works for people. Like that's just my world. That is not everybody else's world. And that is okay. But for me, like I notice a difference if I'm on my phone all day. I feel different. And like I get like an addiction to my phone to where I'll touch it even when there's nothing even happening. So that's what I mean, screen time. It's kind of just like, I'm like, I don't even want to have my phones. To answer your question, like that's kind of where it came from. And now I just try, instead of saying I'm not doing screen time, I just try to fill my time with like, I'm going outside, or
Uh-huh.
we're going to a park, or I'm doing an art craft, or I'm reading a book, or whatever it is, because instead of saying, no, this is bad, because I don't agree with that either. I don't think that's fair. And that puts a lot of guilt on us when we do it. And we're like, I said that was bad. So I try to just focus on the positive of like, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do something that does make me happy or does fulfill me in another way. But we are just in such a technology world right now that you can't not be on your phone. You can't not like literally use your phone. Like you use it for everything, you know? So yeah, I'm not going to hate on it, but I definitely find myself happier and my son is happier when we don't really use the screens that much.
I think this is such a controversial topic, and that's why I asked you to bring it up, because some people are just like the ones who are like not totally for it. I won't say against it, but the ones that are not totally for it or supporting screen time are kind of scared or shy away from even sharing their opinions about it. And I'll tell you, I'm one of those folks who are not, I'm more on the, I'm really not for it. I won't say I'm against it, but I'm really not for it. I'm in that group. I don't even have a TV in my house. I'm that extreme. And I will tell you, I'm most of the time like not aware of what's going on in the world because I don't watch news. Or, like I don't read news on the internet as much. I just kind of pick it up here and there when I need to. And so, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I think that you're right. There are a lot of benefits to not having screen time. And, obviously you have to do what works for you. Sometimes it is a tool depending on your situation. But for my situation, as you mentioned, your specific perspective, here's mine. And I'm going to share something a little personal. And I think it's beneficial though.
Yeah.
I had a realization recently, and I'm working with my own coach on this because it's really hard to be honest with yourself when you have these different enlightenments and insights you gain through your self-awareness, but then you kind of trick yourself into thinking you're doing the right thing and you're really not. So having a coach is really helpful for that. And so what have I noticed is throughout the day, I touch my phone, like you said, so many times it's not pinging. There's no notification and I'm touching it. And and I find myself and I'm like, no, don't touch it. Don't touch it. And then when I get the inkling, like, okay, I give myself a reason. Like, let me go check the prayer time. It's 2 hours. Look, prayer time. When is the next time for prayer? And then I'm looking at something else right after that. And I kid you not, I was trying to figure this out for months. Why do I do that? And I figured it out. It has to do with my self-worth. I don't value myself enough. And I realized I end up going to these social media platforms and email. And I was talking to my coach about this. My mind is always on work. I'm always going to my phone. I'm not focused on my responsibilities at home and what I need to do in that moment, whatever it is that I'm working on. I'm not focused on that. I'm like, I gotta do something on the phone. And we were talking about reprioritizing my values and just wasn't working. What the strategies I got from that conversation with my coach were helpful, but it didn't help my situation. And then I had this insight like a week or two ago. I go on social media and I go on these different apps and I touch my phone to see, did I get an email? Did I get a message on LinkedIn? Did I get an engagement on my content? Because when I get it, it makes me feel like, oh yeah, Rai, you're valuable. You matter in this world because somebody read your post or somebody had the time and thought about you to send you an email. So you matter. And I realized, and that's so powerful that I realized, you know what? I hate that about myself because that shows how dependent I am on people to feel like I am valued and important individual in this world. And that's a huge thing. And I think we don't really take time to think about the actions that we do when we're using technology or our phones or these different apps. We just do it. And we do it so quickly that the thought or the emotion that we're feeling in that moment or the impact is so fleeting that you don't even realize it until it starts to pile up. And then it becomes like this volcano that explodes one day. You're like, what happened? Why am I blowing up? Why am I just reacting abruptly when nothing happened before that? Or why am I reacting when my spouse is telling me, hey, what are you doing on your phone? And I was like, what's your problem? I was only on it for a second. Or then you just, worse, you start hiding and doing it, And I've experienced all of those that I described. And I thought it was just really powerful to share. And speaking of, I wanted to give you a time to comment before I was going to segue into keeping it honest. That was like a perfect way to do my little share and tell like you did with your pom-poms. But I wanted to give you time to comment on any of what I said. If any of that resonated with you, if you had a thought that came through, please go ahead and take a share.
Literally the entire time I'm like, you are me. I am you. Like, I just can't, like, I said this last time. I said, how do you see right through me? Like, how do you know what's going on in my head? But it's so true. Like,
it's the first thing.
It's wild. My goodness. I said, okay, yeah, I do that. Oh my gosh, I do check my email. I go straight to LinkedIn. Like, and I said this last time, like, me and social media, again, kind of like a love-hate relationship. Like, I like going on there, but then I notice when I do, I'm like, I feel worse. I shouldn't be on here. Or like my thoughts aren't the same. Like my thoughts aren't my own at that point. They're somebody else's. I read this post that I like that resonates with me. And now I think that's my initial, like original thought. And it's not. I read it somewhere. Anyways, but what really got me was when you said you hide and do it. This is a topic my husband and I talk about a lot because I'll be like, well, I'm working on my business. So it's not the same screen time as you when you play your game on your phone. But it is like, and he had to tell me like, what's the difference? And for him to say what's the difference, and for me, like, I didn't have an answer because I was like, I mean, I am working on my business and I do think that's important. However, what is the difference when we're both buried in the screen and not paying attention and looking at other things? So like, I guess going back to my original comment about what you said is like, I think what you said is so relatable. It is exactly what we all kind of do because our phones are addicting and like you said, it goes down to your self-worth. You want like text messages. You want people to reach out to you like, oh, they want me, like they need me. That's so monumental. And you just helped me way more than you will ever know. Like just with that.
I'm so excited to hear what you do with this next.
That was amazing.
Beyond the conversation. Yeah, no. Yes. And there's more to it. There's more to it. And I'm going to share a resource for listeners. And Holly, you might like this one too. It's the one that I picked up recently. I'm like, I got to buy this book. I just need to buy it now. When I had this insight, I'm like, I need to buy it. Like, I don't want to spend more money, but it's going to help me right now in this moment. I have to do it. So I'm going to share with listeners and Holly, and you guys can see if it's good for you or not. But on top of that, when you do the hiding and when you're trying to justify, like, oh, I'm doing it for business. And now here's the thing. When my coach asked me that, well, why is this? The question my coach asked me was, well, when you're going on your phone to respond to something for business, why is this fire so important? Why is this fire that you're trying to put out so urgent? And I didn't have an answer. I told her, well, fire? Oh, I'm not putting out a fire. I'm just checking to see if I got anything. And when I check and I got something, I read it and then I click on read. And I do this for email. I'm fully vulnerable, right? So no judgment here. Email, text messages, LinkedIn messages. And you can't unread an engagement, but I'll probably do that too, right? But if it was an option, and I'll go and click unread. So then I know I need to go back and respond, but I don't respond in that moment. And that was it. That was the big eureka moment that made me question, well, if I'm checking it anyways, why don't I respond in that moment? Because then I'm just wasting time. I'm reading it once. I'm spending 2 minutes. And then I'm going to read it again and spend 10 probably to read and create my response and then file it away. So why am I wasting so much time? And that's when it came. I do it not because it's related to work. My justification is I'm doing work. The real reason is I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel I have value. And when I get something from other people and they're sending me an email or a message, I feel I have a value. Like I'm valuable. I matter. And that was huge. And I think it's like this thing about self-worth. I'm so passionate about it because it's something I connect to personally and things that I coach people on. It goes back to what you were saying in our previous conversation about this overcoming what's the word that you used? You're recovering perfectionist. You're never going to fully recover from low self-worth and low self-esteem. It's always this journey. And I think the more that we can come face to face with this reality, like I've accepted that for myself. And I think that's why I was in a position to just share this with everyone, even though it's a really embarrassing topic. And it also ties into this thing with the book I want to recommend, shame. Like I feel ashamed when I have to hide and justify things. Like that's why I'm justifying, because I'm ashamed. I'm feeling shame that I got caught. And
Yeah.
I saw the cat just yawn right. That was a good moment to just yawn, like, oh yeah, I got.
Oh,
Just caught my eye. And then, so then on, I was thinking more about the shame piece. I'm like, Brene Brown must have something about that. Because I know Brene Brown, if you guys have heard of her, she has this talk on TED Talk about vulnerability. Changed my life years ago when I heard this talk. And I'd highly recommend checking it out. And Holly, have you heard about her or that talk before? Have you ever
I've
listened
heard
in on that?
about her, yes, but I've never dug into it. So
No.
I'm really excited for what you're about
Okay.
to say.
Remind me, I'll send you that link to the vulnerability talk. And if listeners, if you're interested, I can drop that in the show notes. Amazing. And after you listen to that, I'd highly recommend checking out this book. I just looked it up because I forgot the name exactly. I thought it was just me, but it isn't. And it's all about shame and vulnerability. And what does it say here? Making the journey from what will people think to I am enough. And it talks, that title alone tells me, and what I understand about it, because I'm just getting started in that book, that I am enough is tied to self-worth. That's what I coach on. So I know that exactly that's what it's tied to. So it's tied to self-worth. It's tied to understanding shame. It's tied to like feeling like developing this feeling of I don't need other people in order to make me feel like I'm an important being on this earth and I'm valuable enough without that. That's what that title told me. And that's why I'm like, I gotta get this book. And so I highly, highly recommend it to, Holly, if you think you resonated with any of what I said, highly recommend the book, listening to Brene Brown's talk. And she's got so many other books and resources out there, but I think she's just a phenomenal resource that's changing how women show up in this century. And it's just a game changer for all of us. And I'm hoping Raw Talks becomes a game changer like that as well for women. So, but again, would love to hear your thoughts on that, what I just shared.
Yeah, no, no. I really two different things. I really just want to dive into it. Like if it was that life changing for you, I want to see it, I want to hear it, I want to learn about it. Because we all have those little moments, and I think that is it's awesome that you can share that, and that's like you said, like that's exactly what this is for. Is just showing like, hey, this book helped me, or this podcast helped me, or this whatever helped me. So honestly, I'm just super excited to check out the link and like look at the book and just see what it has to offer, because that's amazing.
If I remember correctly, I heard it in 2014.
Okay.
And it impacted me so much that I've changed my outward visual identity. So I never used to wear the formal traditional Muslim headscarf called a hijab.
Mm-hmm.
After I heard that talk, I went into this like self-reflective phase of trying to figure out, well, who am I? Because I'm providing an episode on me being interviewed by one of my team members. So you guys can listen in on that, on the details. I don't want to take too much of Holly's time today because it's about her.
No, it's okay.
But essentially, listening to that talk led me into this journey of self-reflection. And then I decided on my own, I'm going to start showing people I'm Muslim. And I have the character and I treat people the way that I do today. And I am the person I am today because I am Muslim and the principles that my faith teaches me. And I wanted people to know that. And I started wearing this at the end of 2015 when Trump became president. So it was a kind of a very interesting phase of my life of fear and being vulnerable at the same time and facing discrimination. But I think that whole talk that she discusses on vulnerability helped me to work up to that big decision for me. And I think that's what was really life-changing for me. But yeah, highly, highly recommend it. It is life-changing. I'm not sure how it would change your life, Holly, or other listeners, but when you do listen, and I'd love to hear you guys' insights on what you gain and what you think you can use to implement in your own life.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. Like, I have nothing to say. That was beautiful. I'm so happy that you moved forward in that way. Like, that was just amazing. I'm just so touched. Like, that was just awesome.
Thank you so much. And, back to that part about a real quick last thing about me, and I'm giving time back all to Holly because I realize I've been talking too much. But I had my little share and tell. So I was so inspired by Holly's conversation, my conversation with Holly last time, and this energy cup. This is a very temporary model because it's what I could put together before our conversation today. But listeners, I got a empty jar of nuts and different colored tea bags. I love green tea, and I have some mint tea and a nighttime chamomile and a daytime chamomile and all kinds of good stuff in here, and 2 different kinds of green tea, a Japanese sencha and stash green tea, which is my absolute favorite brand. It's the best premium green tea that you can get on the shelf at the grocery store without paying the cost. So if you like green tea, highly recommend Stash green tea. I've tried so many different ones, and that's like my favorite so far. But yeah, and the funny thing is I don't drink tea as often anymore for health reasons. So I know I'm not going to use that. But what I will be doing is, as Holly mentioned, like filling it up to the amount that I feel for that day. And I told Holly earlier that I'm going to create little Ziploc bags, and I'm going to put my values on them. So like my family, my work, my self-care, my faith. And, you know, I think I have 4 or 5 total. I'm missing the 5th one right now. And I'm going to take one out every time I feel like my energy is starting to dip. And I'm going to put it in that respective bag based on where I spent my energy and my time before I felt the dip. And as Holly mentioned, that physical factor, I think it's going to be a really huge life changer for me personally. And the other thing is, I feel it's going to keep me honest, because I mentioned the whole thing about shame and feeling like I had to justify things. I feel like this is going to break me from justifying myself, because I'm going to be putting it in a bag and I have the proof. Okay, here it is. This is where the time went. It's not for something for me to be ashamed about, that I spend more time on the phone or more time thinking about work, even though I was not doing work. It's a reality check, and it's information for me to use. So as Holly mentioned, you can recalibrate and reset for the next day. And I'm going to look forward to seeing my own patterns, as well as hearing about Holly's and listeners, if you guys decide to try something like this, to see what were the patterns over the course of time, and how did we improve or not improve, and what can we do better using that, again, information, no judgments here. And so I want to thank you, Holly, for inspiring me to create my own energy cup. And I'm looking forward to refining it and making it what I want, like you have with your clear plastic cup and pom-poms, and sharing it with you guys on social once I have that ready to share, and sharing the insights as well. So thank you, Holly, for that inspiration. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I love it. It was definitely collaborative, because I think I touched on the cup and then you were like, we should fill it with something. And I was like, okay, now we're on to something. So this is totally both of us. I think I sparked the idea and you built on it. And I think it's just this beautiful combination. So I'm so excited.
Absolutely.
And I hope people share too. Like, I hope people just share their pictures of like what their cup is
Yeah.
like, or like what
Oh my
they're
God, now we
filling
should
it
start like a
with.
whole raw community share your energy cups page.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right. Well, enough about me. Time to take it back to Holly, because it's Holly's time today. And I got some great topics for us to touch on. Let's start on the topic of, let's take it back to pregnancy. Holly, you had your baby and you're going through the series of changes. And one of those changes is when we have postpartum. And postpartum recovery can be as demanding as pregnancy itself. I'm curious, you know, this is a little while ago for you, a couple of years now, but during that postpartum time, how did you handle the physical and emotional changes, such as weight management or postpartum depression, but not limited to those 2 things?
Yeah. I went through it emotionally and mentally after I had my son. And I think physically I was kind of okay. And I think I was only okay physically because I had to be okay in some aspect of my life. Mentally, I was not. And I remember just feeling so lost and uncomfortable with who I was. Like, literally, I remember telling somebody, I don't know, probably one of my friends, like, my body was just a vessel and now it's meant to feed my baby and that's it. Like, that's how I felt. Like, that's it. This is why I'm here. I'm just here to hold the baby in my belly. And then he was here and now I'm just here to feed him. And like, I was really lucky
My
to
God.
breastfeed, but that's what it felt like. And I remember like crying all the time. And you know here's what's really frustrating. I could tell you how much I cried and all that, but here's what really got me was you go to the doctor, at least where I'm at, we go to the pediatrician often they check on the baby and they check on me while I'm there. And I thought, wow, this is so nice. Like they always make sure I'm okay. Like, Mama, how are you doing? Mama, how are you feeling? And they had me do like a little survey, and I did the survey, and it's kind of like the same if you've ever been to therapy, where they kind of just ask like, how many days out of the last 2 weeks have you felt like you want to harm yourself? Have you felt like you can't enjoy life? Have you felt like you're too tired to do anything? Or, there's all these questions. And I don't know the actual name of the questionnaire, but it's very similar to just anxiety without postpartum.
Yeah.
So I just remember taking those and they would score it. And every time they're like, you are doing well. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, and I've never said that to anybody. On paper, I was fine. I did not have postpartum depression on paper. I don't even think I had postpartum anxiety on paper. But like when I was answering those questions, I was like, these don't resonate with me. No, none of these are true. However, I am sad all the time. Like I am not okay. And like looking back, I definitely, people told me all the things you should do after you have a baby, which is like ask for help. Never did that. Never did it. Like I refuse. Like I'm like, no, we got it. And I would just like cry later. Like, no, Holly, you don't got it. You probably should have asked for help. But nope, I way too
For
prideful.
what things are people saying you should ask for help when you're saying
just anything? Like I'm like, my house is dirty. Like
Mm.
the dishes, or help me with grocery shopping. Like, and you don't want to be taken away from your baby. I think that was one thing. Like a lot of people will say like, well, I'll take your baby. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm struggling with. I want to hang out with him. I need everything else done. I want someone to cook food for me. But like, I'm also the person, and I know other women are like this, or other people are like this. I want to do it myself. Like, just let me do it myself. So if I could just clone me 3 times, that's the help I wanted. I didn't want help from other people. I wanted help from other Hollies. You know what I mean? Like, just clone me. We got it.
Absolutely. And really quick on that note, you are not alone. I remember speaking to a woman at the time when she had her baby postpartum, and same thing, the spouse was asking her, I can see you're not okay. I can get help. I can get a doula, so you can sleep, and we can try to, the breastfeeding is not working out. Okay, we'll try to pump, and we'll fill the bottle. And I know that's not what we want to do, but we don't have an option. So because we have to do the bottle, but you have to sleep so we can get a doula. And I remember her saying, I don't want anybody in my house. I don't want anybody in my house, near my kid, near my husband, nothing. I just want us. And the husband respected that. And I think that it's such a powerful way of thinking when you're a mom. Like what you were saying, it's like you don't want anyone else. You just want more Hollies, right? Yeah. And this woman also felt the same thing. Like she didn't want anyone else to kind of take up that space because it's hers and her family's. And I think it's justified to feel that way. But as you mentioned, it's not wrong to ask for help. But it's definitely okay to want to protect this new life and this new family that you have, because it is so precious. And so back to you, Holly, but I just wanted to let you know you are not alone. There are other women feeling that, even though there are several women who probably have a nanny and a housekeeper and a doula, all of them, or some of them. But it's not like you need to have all of them. You can still make it work. And she did make it work too. But let me please continue with what you were saying and feeling like you didn't ask for help. You're managing all the emotions. You wanted more clones of Holly. And that's where we left off.
Yeah. And really, I never got out of it. I never got out of like, I'll be more specific. Like I never got out of the mindset of like, I don't want help. Like I'm just going to do it. Mm-hmm. So I did. I drove myself into the ground several times. My husband, I talked about this last time. He's like 110% the best husband in the world for me. Like I don't know how we got to match, but we did. And like soulmates, like he's so good about like I would just sit there and I'd be sad. And he's like, I'm going to go do the dishes. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. And he was such like a fixer. Like, I will fix that then. You're not happy with this? Like, I will fix it. That like, he would run around the house and clean. He would, do, the only thing he couldn't help me with was sleep, because this kid to this day only wants mama for sleep. So like, he couldn't help me with that, but that never bothered me. Like, again, to this day, he could wake me up at 1 a.m. and I'm like, hey bud, like that's us. That's so our sweet thing. So it's okay.
It happens for a lot of women though, right? That it's either one or the other. Most of the time it's like, I just want mom and that's it. And that can be hard sometimes. How did you kind of cope with that? You said it doesn't bother me to this day, but how do you're going through these emotions of feeling sad all the time, yet your baby only wants you, can't speak and say what they need. So you just have to constantly go through the process of, I think if I remember correctly, it's either pee, poop, burp, or feed, and there's one other thing that you have to And you keep going through the cycle, and at some point it's going to work. Like the nurses tell you, like at some point one of them is going to fix it and they're going to stop crying. And then you just keep rotating through the cycles for as long as it's going to take. And, but you're going through all of that. But how do you still keep this thought of, I'm okay with it that he needs mom all the time?
So it was a very unhealthy choice, and I do not recommend it to anybody ever, but I put myself on the back burner. And I think probably 2 years, like once he turned 2, I was like, okay, I can actually do things for myself now. And it took like people, like my husband telling me all the time, like, you need to go do something. Like you need to, like something for you. And I even had a coach, and I loved how she talked about it because she said, go for a walk. You're going for a walk for you and your son. Put headphones in, even if it's just one, play some music that you love. And I was like, whoa, like, I don't know why that blew my mind so much, but I was like, oh, to me, it's all or nothing. It's like, Holly doesn't get to be part of this. This is for Vance. And that's it. And it's, like I'm just a person of extremes that way and everything, which you could tell by my postpartum journey because I'm like, it's fine. I'll just do everything. But that's what happened. Just truthfully, that's what I did. So for 2 years, I didn't do yoga. I didn't wake up by myself. I didn't like anything that gave me joy. I didn't think to do it for myself. I wouldn't even listen to my own music. Like I'd be like, oh, my son needs this ABC song, so we're going to listen to that. Mm-hmm. And it was not the I'm not going to say the right thing to do, because I think there's no right or wrong way to do it. You're just going through it and you're struggling, in my situation, I was struggling. And so I don't like to say it's not the right way. It wasn't the optimal way. You hear it all the time as a mom, like, don't lose yourself, or don't, make sure you make time for yourself. And I did not do it. I simply did not do it. And so that's how I got through it, because I was like, oh, all my love and affection and attention and time is going to go to my son and my family and whatever else needs me. And it's not going to go to me. And that's how I got through like my first 2 years of being a mom.
Wow. That's crazy if you think about it. For 2 years, you neglected all of your self-care. What does that mean to you when you neglected your self-care for 2 years?
It kind of goes back to what you were saying about my worth. Hold on. I'm going to get emotional, so I'm just going to take a moment.
That's okay.
My worth was my son. And so, or my house. I worked for a little bit, and then I kind of went back to being a stay-at-home mom. Like I took maternity leave, went back to work, and was like, this is nuts. And I'm going to go back to being a stay-at-home mom. And hold on, I lost my thought.
You said your worth was your son.
My worth was my son.
We were asking about, like, what does self-care mean when you said you just neglected all that self-care for 2 years, and then you answered saying, my worth was my son. And you had an emotional moment, and then you said, my worth was my son and my house, and then you stopped, if that helps.
Got it. That helps so much. That put me right back in my place. So the whole reason I was saying that little story, I was a stay-at-home mom. So I didn't have work to go to say like, oh, I'm doing well at work. I was in charge of and my husband helps. Like I said, he's helped doing stuff. He's just working full time to make sure we have a home. So he's working. And if the dishes weren't done, if the house wasn't vacuumed, if my son is not happy, if, anything goes wrong, it all pointed to me in my head. Like, it is my fault. Holly didn't do her job. Holly is not worth anything. She's not a good mom. She's not good at taking care of a house. She doesn't even have a job. She doesn't have that much to do. How is she failing at this? Like that, those are the things that I would tell myself constantly. Like, it's not that hard, Holly, get it together. Really was like, just my inner critic was just running my brain. And so that's where the self-worth came in. Like, if everybody was happy, that was a good day for me. I was happy. If my son was happy, if I had dinner ready, like if I had a perfect day in my head where the house was clean, dinner was ready when my husband got home, son was happy all day, he learned something new today, like, oh, Holly did her job. She's great. One little thing goes wrong though, and it's like, it just tore me down. And honestly, I didn't really recognize that in the moment. I did not. It took me a lot of reflection to recognize that. So it was very damaging on like my mental health and just how I thought about myself. And it's taken a lot of recovery to get past that. And I'm still working on it.
You know what? I was just trying to like imagine myself in your place for a minute as you're saying all of that. And it feels like it's so fragile, like that. Again, your worth is dependent on other people, but in this case, other people that are part of you and so close to you, because your son was like part of you at some point, and it still is, and not as a physical representation because it's not in your body anymore, but still part of you very intentionally. And to have your sense of worth, which is really important for you to feel like you function in the world and can deliver to your family. It sounds like it's just so fragile. And I can just imagine like when kids are, starting to walk and things, they're falling, they're going to want to climb. And when they climb on something, they're going to fall and start crying. I can just imagine how you must feel like my son got hurt. He got a cut. He hurt his finger. He fell. I failed as a mom today. And I can just imagine the weight of that pain on your shoulders and how low you must have felt in that moment and how happy you must feel when he's not crying or he didn't have an injury today or he didn't feel like he didn't get what he wanted today. But how did you manage those situations when you were going through that period? And if you're still going through it now, how do you do it?
Yeah, I just lots of crying. Like I would I would tell myself like, well, you didn't do well today. Like try again tomorrow, like try harder. And I would just be sad and just cry. And I would talk to people about it. And, telling you my poor husband, he would come home from work and I'd be like, "Ah, this is what happened today." And he's like, kids fall, right? Like, like every kid has fallen, right? Like it's
How does a
okay,
good old husband know
right?
this, right?
Right? No, every kid falls. This is the only child that fell today. Like literally, yeah, it felt like I was the worst thing in the world. And what someone told me, and it's something that I would try to repeat to myself, and I hope this is helpful for other people. It was kind of harsh, but I kind of liked how harsh it was. So she said, don't take this
Wait,
the
who
wrong
told
way.
this to you?
So, okay. So we had, there's a program called Healthy Start,
Okay.
and like a counselor, like someone who helps, like they come to your home. How often did she come? For the first year of his life, she could come like once a month or something like that. And after like 3 months, she's like, you don't need me. She's like,
Okay.
you're doing fine. You don't need me. You're okay. And I was, or 3 months or 4 months or something like that. And she's like, you want me to come back? I'm happy to come back, but you're okay. Like, go. Like, you're fine. You don't need me here. But anyways, it was called Healthy Start. Awesome program. I'm so happy it was available. She's the one who told me. She said, don't take this the wrong way. You don't have that much power. You are one person. You don't have that much power. And what she meant by that was you do not have an orb around your son and you're carrying him around. And like you are one person. Like you cannot touch everything all the time. You do not have enough power to control everything around you. Like almost like chill out. Okay. Like control what you can control and move on. Like it was and she said it in such a sweet way. She was not rude about it.
Yeah.
But that's like, I needed that. And I hope someone listening, like, takes that and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't have control of everything. Like, I can't touch everything all the time. You can't. And if you think you can, you're going to drive yourself nuts, like I did for 2 years. So to answer the second part of your question, how I kind of got out of it was around year 2. So, like, there were certain milestones that I was like, oh, I'm getting better. I remember 9 months was a milestone. I remember like when he hit 1 year, it was a milestone. And then when he hit 2, like those are 3 very specific moments where I was like, I am feeling better. I felt like more like Holly. And so in those moments, the 2 year mark was like, I am Holly. Now I feel like a Holly. I am Holly still. I'm a little different. My body looks a little different. I'm a little different. Like my life looks different, but I'm still Holly. She's still in there. And she's a cool new version of her. And that's when I started doing little things for myself. Like I wake up in the morning and I do yoga and I exercise is like medicine to me. And so I exercise and like if my son and I aren't playing for exercise that day as much, like I'm like, okay, well, mommy's going to watch a YouTube video. You want to do it with me? And usually he does because I like dance workouts, like cardio type stuff. And I'll put music on and if I'm doing squats, he'll try to do them with me, things like that. So
That's so cute.
but yeah, it's a lot of fun those are still little things for myself. And that's part of it. And the other part is like, Holly, it's okay. Like things are going to happen. And I've shifted my gears a little bit from like, I loved your example of like falling, right? his little knees get cut so much. I live in Florida, okay? We wear shorts all the time. We go on walks all the time, and like it's gonna happen. It's bound to happen. We're gonna trip. He's gonna trip, So his little knees will get little, little cuts on him. He has a Band-Aid on his knee. But
Poor soul. Oh my God. That sounds very
but
awful.
no, he's a rock star. He just gets up, and I'm like, honey, we gotta clean that.
Look at this little Superman. It's just ready to roll.
Yeah, he's like, we're fine. So yeah. Anyway, his knees aren't always cut up all the time, but it just happens often where it's like, all right. And he's rough. That boy is like, he just wants to run and chase and whatever. All right, back to what I was saying. So I shifted my mindset a little bit from, oh no, he fell. It's my fault. I wasn't there to catch him. No, he should. Okay, I shouldn't say he should fall. He's going to fall. He's going to fall, and he's going to learn from that fall. He's going to struggle, and he's going to learn from that struggle. So, like, for example, we have like a little climbing thing, and he'll sit there and he'll be like stuck on it, and like, wait, mom, like, what? I don't know what to do, and like, I want to be like, no, I'll just help you up. Like, I'll just get you to the top. Like, it's like a little ladder. I'll just get you to the top. Good to go. Right. Well, how is he going to grow? How is he going to learn how to climb? How are his muscles going to get stronger? They're not. They're simply not. And so like something, I don't know if it was a conversation, maybe many conversations but just something shifted of like, no, let the kid do it. As long as he's not going to go, break an arm. Like I'm still there like this waiting. Like if you fall in here, but otherwise, like if he's not going to hurt himself, if he is safe and healthy, whatever I'm doing is okay. Whatever he's doing is okay. And that was monumental for like that. The impact of that shift just changed everything. It changed everything for me because instead of it being my fault, that is the world, Holly. Like he is going to learn. And then now it's cool to watch him. Like now I have no question. He climbs up there. He goes to the other side, climbs down now. He didn't climb down at one point. Now he knows how to climb down, And so like he never would have learned that if I'm like over here trying to hover. And it comes out of parenting style too. But at the end of the day, like I want him to learn. I want him to grow. And if I want to do that, then I can't control everything. And I got to kind of let him fly. So between those two things, like me kind of taking some time for myself and then kind of allowing him to be his own person, that really changed a lot for me. And I feel so much better now. He's about 2.5, just to give people like a range.
That sounds incredible for the 2.5-year-old to be able to do what you have just described. So more power to him. And I'm so excited to hear what else he gets to achieve in his journey. There's one thing that you said that I wanted to touch on because I think it's relevant to us as adults. That you said he will fall and he's going to learn from it. He will struggle and he's going to learn and grow from it. And I was just thinking, there's another thing, but for that thought, that's so true for us today. We don't physically fall, but we feel we fail. And we struggle, but we're hesitant to learn. And it's almost like we don't have a parent behind us saying like, I'm going to help you through. But we wish that was there because we're just stuck. We don't want to move, And I feel like I say this all the time. There's so much that we can learn from kids. And that example of your son is on this climber. He's stuck. He's trying to figure it out. But he's not coming back down because he's saying, well, I really can't do it. Or, Mom, can you bring me down? He's stuck. He's trying to figure it out. And then he figures it out and starts moving again onto the next one. That's the mentality that we need today. It's okay to be stuck. It's okay. It's okay if you need to hang tight for a little longer. You don't have to move any faster at the pace that other people are moving. You have to move at your own pace and be okay with it. But the thing that we need to ask ourselves is, are we ready to be okay with waiting in this struggle? And are we okay with falling and learning from this fall? I just had this conversation yesterday in my other episode that the guest said, it's not failure, it's learning and growth. And that failure is education because it's going to teach you something that you can do better and you're going to learn from it. And if you can apply it, you're going to get a better result. And it was related to something like a work project. But if you think about it from like a life standpoint, it's very applicable. And it's so applicable to what you just said about struggle. Like we're all going to fall. Like he's going to fall and he's going to learn. it's applicable to us. Like, Holly, you will fall and you will learn from it. And Holly, you will struggle and you'll learn from it. I feel like I need to write that down for myself, because so many times I get stuck in that mental game. Like, I'm not going to record this new video for people because I'm not sure how they're going to take it, or nobody's going to like it, or I'm not going to launch this podcast because what if it's really not going to have the impact that I want? And I had to get over those fears. I had to get over the fear that no one's going to listen and just do it, because me thinking that it's going to have an impact was enough. And sometimes that's kind of hard to feel, because then I start feeling, oh, there's no listeners. Oh, I failed. You know, and then that reminds me what you just said. I'm like, okay, I need to write that down for myself.
You will get back up.
Exactly. But there's no failures here. I love what that guest said. It's all learning and growth, but you will struggle and you will fall, and it's okay. And so, you know, you mentioned though before all of this that between the 9-month, the 1 year, and the 2 year, there was a point where you felt like, I'm Holly again. Like, I'm becoming Holly again. What happened that made you start to feel like I can focus on Holly again a little bit more and I'm becoming Holly again? I'm curious about what insight came up for you during that.
Yeah, I remember the 9-month mark specifically. I like was sitting on the couch one day and it just like came to me. Like I was like, I feel better today. Like I feel better than I felt in a really long time today. And it wasn't even like I was doing anything differently. I think because of like now just talking about it, really, you're getting me to think about it. I think it went from like him hitting milestones. Like, I think it's when my son kind of went from like, oh, he's a little more independent now. He's kind of crawling now. I can like set him somewhere and he can kind of do stuff on his own now. And then like same thing kind of happened at a year, right? And then again at 2 years. And I think just those little things, like he just kept getting more independent. Like I talked last time about how kind of like play by himself now and like not ask for me for like 20 minutes. And I'll be like, I can go do something. Like I can go, do whatever I want right now. I don't have to like sit and stare at him. I trust him to just stay and play. So I think that's kind of what was happening in the timeline. And I think I had more time to reflect and say like, oh, okay, I feel a little better. I'm not crying as much. It's not as sad. I'm not as, I don't feel as much guilt or whatever it was in the moment. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of what did it for me. It was just, ooh, like I actually feel a little better today. And then it just kind of kept getting better instead of like being one good day and then it kind of went back down. Absolutely. It was like, I feel, ooh, okay, I keep feeling better. Like this is good. Whatever's happening, I like this. And I do want to touch on one thing too, because no one really talks about this. So I breastfed for 2 years.
Oh my God. I'm just holding him and the baby's increasing in weight. How did you manage that?
Lots of
that takes a lot of arm
laying
strength
on my side. Yeah, it was lots of laying. Or like I would pump. But yeah, so we did that until he was 2. But I mean, obviously, gradually like lowering the amount or the time.
Of course.
And so around 2 years after he turned 2, I was like, all right, buddy, like I'm done with this. I don't think you need this anymore. Like we did great. We're going to move on. And he was great with it. He transitioned really well. But the point I really want to make that no one talks about is your hormones do not go back to normal. It can take up to 6 months for your hormones to go back to normal after you stop breastfeeding. So let's talk about this for a moment. You get pregnant, your hormones change. You have your baby, your hormones change. You're breastfeeding, your hormones are doing something. And then you stop breastfeeding and your hormones still have to change back to normal. So I'm talking to you right now. My son is almost 2.5 and my hormones may not be back to pre-pregnancy Holly hormone levels. That is why we're going through so much as moms, like, and I also started telling myself that too, like, Holly, this is kind of like, it's okay. Like, you're just going through changes.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Your body is going through changes. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But I just wanted to touch on that because I didn't know that until I started reading about it. I'm like, why? I stopped like a week ago. Why don't I feel better?
Yeah.
Why don't I feel normal? And that's why. I mean, it doesn't always take that long, but it can take up to that long. And I just thought that was a really interesting tidbit that no one really talks about.
So thank you so much for sharing that. As you were mentioning all of these chapters of your story, It sounds like when you're mentioning your son went through different milestones, you were also going through your own milestones, and you were very much a part of his journey as he was a part of your journey. And I've heard medical professionals say that once you're past 1 year, like baby's first year, you're practically out of the postpartum phase. But what you just described, especially for women who are breastfeeding for up to 2 years or even longer than that, depending on what your situation is and what you desire for your child, I mean, you're technically not, as you mentioned, the whole hormone change. Like, you're still in that postpartum phase for as long as something is related to the baby and your body and the feeding and so forth, and the emotional and hormonal change. It doesn't feel like you're actually out of that phase. So there is a lot going on. And I think we have to remember to give ourselves grace in that process. You're changing. You're not going to be the same person before baby. It's okay. You're not going to have the same body anymore. You're not going to think the same way anymore. You might not have the same envisioned time for yourself, for your self-care. It's okay. Okay, like one thing I wanted to mention to you is like you felt like you had to pull yourself out of your son's walk by putting your music in your ear. Well, that tells me you're not fully present with him. But why can't you, I would argue, not saying that's wrong, but I would argue, why can't you do what you want, but do it with your son so he doesn't feel neglected anymore? Because I'm sure he'd notice. He probably couldn't talk at that time. I'm sure he must have felt, oh, I don't have mom's attention as much as I did when she didn't have something in her ear. Like kids feel it. They know that something else is going on. So I even heard another mom say, I do yoga with my kids. And so I want to do yoga, and they get a mat for them. They sit on the floor and we start doing yoga together. Like you can make them part of the activity, just like you're part of their activities. And it doesn't have to be, I think we have to break this concept of self-care means only me. Self-care can be me care. Like I can do things for myself and also be with my son and my family. It doesn't have to be so split up. And I think that's going to be a game changer for us if we start shifting our mindset from, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I talked about like our little dance parties, right? Like
that's exactly what you mentioned.
Like, baby, we're working out. Like, join me. I don't know, but this is what mama's doing. But he does. And I think kids, the whole like thing, their whole, how they learn, how they interact it is like, they want to be like adults. They're learning how to be adults, right? And so like the yoga thing, I love that. I tried and I'm like, hey, buddy, do you want to do yoga? And he does, like, I'll tell him, you're doing bridge, or you're doing happy baby. And he loves it. He thinks have you heard of goat yoga or like cat yoga?
What is that? Hot yoga I have.
Thing. Okay. Goat yoga and cat yoga. They have cats and they have goats, and you're doing yoga and they just like step on you and like hang out with you while you're doing it. That's what my son thinks yoga is his yoga, like toddler yoga. I call it toddler yoga. And he climbs on me. Like people who know yoga, like I'm doing downward dog. He thinks it's so funny to like go under me. Like, you're a car wash, mommy. And I'm like, all right, bud. Or like I'm stretching sideways and he's like climbing on my head. And so I had to just start telling him, like, you got to be gentle when mommy's stretching. Because he'll like really, really be rough with me. But yeah, I just love the idea of doing stuff together. You're right. And then it teaches them like, oh, and we talk about it. Mom's doing this because I feel better after I do yoga, or I really enjoy doing this activity. And then he's like, he understands what that means, and he kind of gets more out of it in that way. So I love the idea of like, we care. Like, we're going to do something that, cares for both of us, and you're going to join me in my care, and it doesn't have to be separate. I love that.
And if you're finding that he doesn't have that much attention span to do it for a long period of time, I think that's a great way to just kind of section it off. Like, instead of doing your 30-minute yoga, which you used to do before baby, why not do 5 minutes?
Yeah.
You can just do one pose and split it up throughout the day. It doesn't have to be that long stretch. I think it's just about breaking the boundaries we set up for ourselves and redefining what self-care means, and figuring out what are these new boundaries and how can we flex them so we're making time for them and we're not taking from our cups and putting them in things that we don't want to put them in, but we can kind of fill more than one cup at the same time without expending too much. I think that's a great point. Wow, what a deep dive conversation. Again, I was so excited for this. Thank you so much, Holly. And fortunately, we've come to the end of our time together. But I want to thank you and ask you if there's anything else you'd like to say to just close us out here.
I do want to say one more thing that I know we were going to talk about, and we did not get to it again.
I know. I was looking.
We're talking. A day of Holly and Raihana just going off.
Maybe we need our own little podcast talk show going.
Separate talk show. Like, this is a separate series.
Absolutely.
But there's one thing I really wanted to talk about because I think it is life changing, and I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible.
Yeah.
But we were going to talk about imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And something I heard and learned was a book, but I didn't read the book. I learned about this idea on a podcast, and it's called Everything is Figure Outable. And I wanted to share it because it's by Marie Forleo. Forleo is her last name or her name. And that's what changed my family's life. Quick background on it. So I listened to the podcast and I said to my husband, I was like, you need to listen to this now. And he's like not a podcast guy. And so he listened to it and he was like, that was the best like hour or however long it was. He's like, that was amazing. And so we listened to it. And mind you, last time we talked, I had my miscarriage. This was happening between when I found out I was pregnant and my miscarriage. And so it was like a really interesting time in my life. But I heard about this called Everything is Figure Outable. It's exactly what it sounds like. Again, I'm going to try to make this fast. So this is Cliff Notes version. But it came down to us listening to this podcast where she was talking about it. And then my husband, he's in a job where he kind of is like stuck where he's at because the job description was kind of changed for him. Like it was just a really interesting situation to where he's where he's at. And like if he wanted to work somewhere else doing the same thing, he kind of wouldn't be able to. And so we were having this conversation about just like everything is figure outable. And he was like, well, I would really like to go back to school to be a physician's assistant. And I was like, okay, like, let's do it. And he's like, I can't. And it was kind of like this back and forth of like, but I would need to take more prerequisites, but I would need to take the GRE. That's really hard, but I would need to do this. And he kind of like, we talked ourselves out of it. Like he talked himself into it in that conversation. I was like, well, why not? Why can't you do it? Why? There are other people who are doing it who are probably less qualified than you. Like, why can't you? And so it kind of flipped on me too. Like I was like, I could never start a business. Like no way, not smart enough, not whatever enough, but everything is figure outable and you can do it. And people are doing things who are less qualified than you, but they have more confidence. So the last thing I really just want to say is like, you have so much more power than you think you do when it comes to what your life looks like or what you can accomplish. And do not hold back because you have it in you. And sometimes maybe you have to find a support system. And sometimes maybe it seems impossible. And that's totally understandable. But you do have it in you. And you're going to look at other people who are doing great things and you're going to think, I can't do that. I will never be that. And it's not true. And so I just want to touch on that and just say, please, for anybody who's listening, just you can do anything you set your mind to. You have the power. Just remember, you can figure it out, and you will get there. Small steps, that's fine, but you will get there in your own time.
Thank you so much for that. What a beautiful way to end. And that's an amazing resource. And I'm hoping you said your husband is going for a PhD now, or is he still going for that physician's assistant program? I think before we started all these conversations, he was doing PhD, I believe.
He would love to be like doctor, MD, all that good stuff. But we're like, do we have do we want to do that for 8 years? He would love to do it, but right now we're sticking to a physician's assistant for now.
So it's wonderful how when you both came together, you're able to figure this out. And it's exactly what you were saying. Like he is trying, what we were saying earlier, if he was just having this conversation on his own, like just thinking through my options, he was justifying them. Like, okay, I want this, but I'm justifying why I can't do it. And you were there to kind of pull him out of that. Well, why? Why is it? So you were keeping him honest with, this is something you could figure out. Well, this is something that is possible for us. We just need to look at the different possibilities and see how we can make it work. It's not about, it's not going to work. It can work. It's just going to work in a way that works for us. And then doesn't have to be status quo way. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
You're right. It doesn't have to be status quo. It's going to be sloppy. That's okay. It's going to be messy.
I'm such a big advocate for against status quo. Like, don't even get me started. I'm like, do everything outside status quo, honey. Literally, from parenthood to workhood, whatever you call it. It's not the way to go. We start comparing ourselves and we get in this rut of being in low self-worth in the first place. And it creates so much unwanted negative energy, and we're expending our beautiful energy in ways that we shouldn't be because we're so stuck in like trying to meet the status quo and comparing ourselves with others and so forth. So that's like a whole other conversation. But thank you so much for this. I'm gonna have to add this to my reading list and get it on my Kindle and check that one out soon. Thank you so much. All right, listeners, time to wrap this up. Thank you again, Holly. Now, guys, before you go, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast, share it with other people in your network, give us a follow on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you have any requests for future topics or speakers, please do send me an email at raihana@rawcoaching.com. And I'll be including Holly's contact information in the show notes for you guys to reach out to if you'd like to. Thank you again, Holly, for your time today.
Thank you so much.